We share. Oh, take a ride with me.
Hi, I thank God for the privilege I have to share my experience with you. I am by name Mr. Barnabas Iliya Musa. I work with the Department of Soil Science, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Abuja. I am grateful to God for the privilege of being alive at this time and to share my experience with you. Mine is a story of sheer determination, hope, and faith in God. God has always been faithful. When you put your trust in Him, He takes you through your dreams. From the time I started up as a child, I come from a polygamous family. My father had 2 wives, and he gave birth to 25 of us. And from that, you would understand what it means to grow up in the midst of a multitude with so many challenges of life, very little resources to cater for all of us as children in the family. And of course, that implies that we have to struggle on our own in order to survive. The journey was not easy, but I thank God for being merciful that even I, at this time, can stand as a living testimony of what God can do in the life of a nobody, transforming you from nothingness to something that people can look up to and be encouraged. I think I am grace personified, if you allow me to put it that way. My journey educationally started this way. I grew up as a very quiet child to the point that my parents thought I would not be good academically. So even when my other siblings were sent to school, I was left at home because my father thought I would not be good. I was too quiet. You would talk to me, I wouldn't respond. I might actually get to do what you asked me to do, but I won't talk to you. I won't say anything. I was that kind of a child. So I was left at home when all my other siblings and friends around goes to school every day. At a point in time, I was tired of staying at home. I decided to enroll myself in school. Even as a child, I just decided to follow my siblings one fateful day to school. And I entered a class. I don't know what class it was. And I just entered. And the teacher noticed that I'm a new pupil in the class, called me and asked me some questions. When I explained myself, he helped and took me to the right class I was supposed to be. That was primary 1. And I stayed in school. When I came back home, my parents asked me where I'm coming from. I told them I went to school. They didn't believe what I was saying until the following day, when my siblings were preparing for school. I prepared myself and joined them. And my father saw that I was serious and he allowed me. So that was how I started schooling. And through the grace of God, I was able to go through the normal primary education successfully. I started my secondary education by the grace of God. And as God would have it, God helped me. I was very intelligent. I was very brilliant. I had to study on my own. And at a point, I overtook some of my siblings and brothers that are friends that even went to school ahead of me. So I overtook some of them in JS2 while they were repeating classes. I saw over them and God helped me. I was able to scale through junior secondary school, and then I started the senior secondary school. Actually, in my dreams, I was having the intention, I had plans to become a lawyer. So I had nothing to do with sciences. I was studying arts because my dream was to be a lawyer. You understand the hype we normally have. Our lawyers are respected, they have money and stuff like that. So that was my dream. And I was studying hard because I believed I want to become a very successful lawyer. But after completing my secondary education, I waited for admission for 3 years the admission didn't come. I was worried, what is happening? Even though there was no encouragement from anybody, there was no financial support from anywhere, I had to be working, struggling on my own, even as a child, to see that I save what will see me through in school. I started sponsoring my education right from secondary school because we were so many as children. My father could not afford to cater for all of us, especially academically. He would do anything within his reach to make sure he provides food so that we'll be well taken care of at home. But in school, once the issue of money is involved, it has to be a serious struggle because he was not having a very good job that will provide him with good money to be able to cater for all of us, for the fact that we are so many as his children. So for any one of us that wants to continue in school, that means you have to work extra to take care of the expenses all by yourself. So even as a child from secondary school, I started hawking things around, helping people just to make sure that I gather money and save. I was having that determination, I want to be somebody, even though all the odds were there, all the factors of discouragement were there, but I was determined. I was rather seeing them as challenges that I have to surmount to become what I want to be. And God really helped me with that determination because I was never disappointed. Number one, I was very intelligent, ahead of all my elder brothers and sisters. In fact, I started reading and writing on my own even before some of them could learn how to read and write. And so my father was using me as an example, as a challenge to them, because I was the one he left at home thinking I would not be good academically, and all of a sudden I'm the one even making an attempt to teach my elderly ones how to read and write. So it was actually a challenge for them. So God helped me in that aspect, and also with that determination that whatever I would do legal to see that I'm able to raise funds, to raise money, or to save money that will aid me in school, I was willing to do it. I had to sell masa for a woman. She would count the masa, and then I have my own commission after selling. I would take the masa on my head, hawk around when it is school time. By that time, God helped, the school was in the afternoon. That was the secondary school I was attending. It was in the afternoon. I will hawk around in the morning with the masa and everything. While it is school time, I will just find somewhere, keep my tray and whatsoever I was using for hawking. I already have my bag with my books in it. I will just get down the stream, wash myself, dress up, and up I am for school. And when I close in the evening, I will go back, pick my trays and other things, and back I'm home. And that was how I was doing, and I was able to see myself all through. So during long vacations, I will move to Feringada, where I will get myself engaged with this car wash and other things like that, all in a bid to see that I raise funds to help myself academically. And God was really helping me. So whatever I'm able to get, I'll bring it to my mother. She was my bank, and she would help me keep it. And then when it is time, I need anything for school, she will make sure that those money are made available to me, and I was able to see myself through school. So as I was saying earlier on, I was able to go through up to my SS3, and I wrote my WAEC. Just one sitting, by the grace of God, I was able to make all my papers. But after that, I had to stay at home for 3 years, and nothing was coming forth. No admission was coming forth. I applied University of Jos and other universities in the Zaria to see that I get admission and study law, but it was not forthcoming. At a point in time, I got discouraged, and I felt maybe I need to make a change. And I don't know whether I should say fortunately or unfortunately, there was nobody advising me. I had no counselor, I had no one that understands me, that will say, why not try this or why not do this? But on my own, I thought over it after some time, and I felt maybe I should change my ambition, I should change my dreams. And this time around, I said, okay, I want to become a medical doctor, but the challenge I have is I studied arts in the secondary school, and I would need sciences to be able to read medicine. So I advised myself, I said, okay, after all, admission has not come all this while that I've waited. I think it would be wise for me to go back to secondary school again. So this time around, I went back to secondary school, I bought all the science textbooks that I could lay my hands on. I studied day and night. I studied on my own, went back to SS2 and start all over again. This time around, sciences. My friends were laughing at me. Some of my teachers saw the determination and it thrilled them. They were happy with me and they encouraged me. So I studied hard and I sat for my WAEC the second time, and through the help of God I was able to clear all my papers once again. Wow, it was a miracle because I sat for the exams with fear, even though I had trust in God that God would see me through, and certainly God did. So I was able to scale through. I got all my papers and I started the waiting game again for admission to come. This time around I put in for medicine and I was waiting for admission and nothing was happening. At a point, I became so discouraged, so devastated. So people were telling me so many things. You went back to secondary school the second time and all you could do is just to wait at home. Why not think of something reasonable to do with your life? Time is not on your side. You are getting older and nothing is happening. I became so discouraged, but at a point in time, I picked up courage. I said, no problem. Even if I don't study medicine, I think I can still study other things that will make me self-reliant. So I picked up a form for a college. That was a federal soil conservation school, then in Kuru. So I picked up, I went for a diploma program in soil conservation, which is an aspect of agriculture. So I was able to get through my diploma successfully. I put in for HND. I was able to get through successfully, but I was not satisfied with that. I felt I needed something more than that, because in academics, I find out that I was so comfortable in academics, and I felt just having a diploma, a HND was not just okay for me. So with that determination, even though friends were laughing at me, look at this person going back to secondary school for the second time, only to come back and be reading agric. That is, at least, is unheard of. And of all courses, it's agric that he finds interesting to read or to study. So with all these encouragements and other things, I was not moved. I was still determined to see that I help myself to become somebody. So just reluctantly, I just tried direct entry, ABU Zaria, even though with my HND, and God helped me. When I put up for direct entry and I was given 200 level, agric. You know, agric is a 5-year course. So with 200 level, during the documentation, I presented all my certificates, including the HND. And when they saw that I had HND and it was distinction, I was given 300 level instead of the 200 level that was initially in my admission letter. So I saw that as an encouragement from God directly, because it is only God that could have done that. But I was ready to accept anything, even if it means to start 100 level all over again. But for the fact that it is a degree, I was very much comfortable, I was very much satisfied, and I was given agric and a major in soil science. So God helped me, I was able to scale through, and to the glory of God, I came out with first class. It was the talk of town because of all my friends and siblings and people, many other people I knew that went to school like me. I've not known of any of them that came out with first class, but me that people were laughing at, me that people were mocking at, and God helped me, I was the one that came out with first class, and I became the talk of town. So many people were comfortable being around me. Some people would be asking me, how do you make, how are you able to make it? And all I could say was, it is the grace of God. And I know certainly that it was the grace of God that helped me. So with that, I picked up the courage and I started, I was supposed to go for my service. That was 2001. And I was posted in Edo to serve. And while I was waiting for all the logistics to resume my NYC service, I had an appointment letter The good news is that I never applied for a job anywhere. I never wrote any application looking for a job. But the college where I had my HND previously, when they knew that now I had a degree, that's Bachelor of Agriculture, and I majored in soil science, they called me and gave me employment. So I was having this dilemma of either going for service or picking up the employment. An exemption was worked out for me. So I came back and I started working. So I worked with them from 2000 till 2008 when another opportunity came and I got engaged by University of Abuja, and I left the college and joined the University of Abuja. See, the story of my academic exploits is amazing in the sense that I was actually never meant to succeed. Permit me to use that word or these words, because all the odds were there to discourage me. All the factors were there to make me feel I cannot make it. But that determination and the faith I had in God saw me through. Today, as I'm speaking with you, I have 2 master's degrees and I'm currently on my PhD program. I'm almost rounding up, and by the grace of God, I hope to complete that very soon. And to the glory of God, I'm hoping to be a PhD holder, and that will be an advancement for me academically and also professionally. Because in the academics, you need that. You cannot remain with just your master's degree or any other qualification you have and you think you'll be able to scale through the ranks that one is expected to scale through and be a successful academician. So I really thank God for this experience. To so many other people that heard my story, it was a source of encouragement, because the truth is, in life, you will always come across situations that does not favor your dreams, factors that are always at variance with your ambition. And if you just took them by sight and you allow those factors to discourage you, you actually would have cut your dreams short. But if you hold on to God in hope and in faith, and you keep struggling, doing your own part, you'll be surprised what God will do for you. Today, as I speak with you, in the whole of my family, both the immediate and extended, I'm the only one, even with master's degree, though I have 2 by the grace of God. I see it as the grace of God. So that is why when I started, I told you that my own story, I see myself as grace personified, because all through the experiences I had, I could sense that it is the hand of God leading me through the unknown. Because I never dreamt that I would one day be who I am today. Looking at the antecedents that I've just outlined, all the factors of discouragement and stuff like that. But today, I am a source of encouragement to many others. I am a source of inspiration to many other people who have heard my story, and those that knew me while I was growing or while I was in the process of becoming what the Lord has made me today. So it is actually the grace of God, and I thank God for that grace. And again, you know, life is always full of the unexpected. Sometimes in the year 2020, during the corona pandemic, you know, every institution was shut down, including my university, the University of Abuja. So we were just staying at home. At a point in time, there was this plan for a total lockdown. People were not allowed to move to places and issues like that. So I and my family, I felt continuing to stay in Abuja during the period of that lockdown that nobody knows how long it will take would actually be a challenge for us, seeing that things were not moving the way it should be. So we decided to move over to the village to be with our extended family. And during that time, I had this problem with my ear, my right ear, which I had to go to the hospital then. That was the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital in Gwagwalada. After some treatments, I was recovering, and then I managed to drive myself all the way through, down to Jos and then to my village. And the unexpected started to unfold. On a fateful morning, my wife was not around. She was in Jingri while I was in the village with the kids and my parents, my aged parents. And I woke up one morning, I was having these strange feelings within me, and I didn't know what was wrong with me actually. But I thank God my younger brother was at home. Just within the space of some few minutes, I discovered that I could not move myself to do anything, to help myself do anything. I had to shout and call on my younger brother, who helped me and took a bike and then took me to the hospital where I was admitted. And after some tests, I was diagnosed of having typhoid. So the treatment started. I was on drips and some drugs for some days. And I felt better after some few days in the hospital, and I was discharged home. I didn't even bother to tell my wife, who was away at Jingri, because she was preparing for her younger sister's wedding. So I just managed to stay and take care of myself with the help of my younger brother and the kids with me. Everybody was just around me to make sure that I felt better. So on the day of my sister-in-law's send forth, the children were crying that they need to go and they want to see their mom and they want to be part of the program. So even though I was sick, I felt I was a little bit strong. Even though with a cannula of drips in my hand, I managed to drive from the village down there at Garunkurama. I was able to drive all through to Jingri to bring the kids and also to partake in the send forth program of my sister-in-law. And it was during the send forth, after the church program, we were at the reception ground, I started feeling this discomfort again. And I was becoming very, very weak. I couldn't help myself. My brother-in-law called a medical personnel that came to the house and administered some drugs, some injections, and then I was placed on a drip. And after some 2 days, I felt I was better. So a friend came and drove us back to the village, this time around with my wife and the kids. So we were back in the village, and I was at home receiving treatment. At a point in time, the situation was getting so bad that I had to go back to the hospital. And after some tests, they said the typhoid is still there, and they need to step up the treatment so that I'll be able to recover in a good time. Unknown to me and also to the medical personnel that were there taking care of me, the drugs administered on me were somehow stronger than I could actually withstand. And that caused a lot of problems. In fact, it aggravated the situation. The whole thing turned within just 3 days of receiving treatment in the hospital. After going back, I discovered that I was swelling up. My tummy was swelling. My eyes turned completely to, in fact, not just yellow, but green. The whole thing, just within a space of 3 days, 3 to 5 days, I was just not myself. And the doctors didn't know what to do again. They were confused, but in their confusion, they were still thinking that they can manage the situation, until my wife insisted that we had to leave that hospital and seek help somewhere else. So, but the challenge was no one to drive us, so they had to place a call on one of my friend and my brother, Mr. Mishak Hosea Aibadun, who came over, rushed to the village, drove us to Jingri Hospital. That's the SDA hospital in Jingri. And I was admitted for some weeks there. It was there that they discovered that my liver had been affected. In fact, my liver had been punctured at some places, and it was already dripping out fluids that has accumulated in my tummy. That was the reason for the swellings and all other things like that. In fact, at that point, everybody thought I was dead because I was unconscious for more than 3 days. I was unconscious. I never knew where I was. I was just there. People were coming in to see me and they would cry and feel that was the end of the whole thing. In fact, the doctors that were also attending to me, one of them, who was the then, he was also, I think he was the medical director then, just said, well, this one, let us just do what ought to be done so that it will not be said that we neglected him or he was abandoned. But the way this one is looking and the way things are, well, let's just do it and see what God will do. So it was a situation that was almost hopeless, and so many people have given up. In fact, people were afraid to, when I regained consciousness, people were afraid to say it to my own hearing. But in their humings and other things, I understood what was happening. There was just no hope because the situation was very bad. The liver was affected badly, and they were just waiting maybe for what will happen any moment from now, and then I was just there. The necessary things that ought to be done were being done, but they were just doing it just to buy time and also not to seem as if I was abandoned or not taken care of. But like I said, my entire story is that of God's grace upon an undeserving person like me. As a person, I felt that was the end of the road for me. In my private and silent prayers, I asked God for forgiveness. I tried to make things right with God, and sometimes I would talk to my wife to help me talk to people around. If perhaps I have in any way offended anybody, she should talk to them so that I can make things right with anybody, because I made up my mind at any moment I might be gone. But sometimes when man is concluding, that is just God's preambles. When you still have hope and trust in God, like I said earlier on, you will be surprised what the Lord will do in such a hopeless situation that I found myself in. At that point in time, the doctors were just doing all they could do, but nothing seemed to show any sign of improvement in what was happening. So at a point in time, they recommended that I will just have to remain in the hospital for as long as they are able to do whatever they can do to see that they help me. My wife got fed up, and just out of frustration or whatsoever, she said, well, there was the essence of, if there is nothing else that can be done that has already been done, if there is nothing else, why not let's just go back home and see what God can do. It was at that point in time that one of the elders in our church called to confirm what was happening. And when she told him, she explained the whole situation to him. He asked her to call a brother Benjamin Agayong of the Alternative Health Sanitarium in Jingri. She called him, and then when he came, they explained everything to him. He saw the test results, the liver function test results and everything. And he decided that he will try something. And that was where God now started the miracle. When we asked them at Jingri to discharge us so that we will go back home, they were not willing to do that. They were willing to discharge me on one condition, that they will refer me back to Abuja, that's the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, where I would continue treatment, because it would be very disastrous for them to just take me from there and just keep me at home. It would mean whatever might happen, that might hasten the process. So the hospital was unwilling. So my wife and a friend, a brother and a friend, that's Elder Shedrack Ibubu Kumusu, actually decided that they should discharge us, that they will take me back to Abuja for the continuation of the treatment as they have been advised. So they wrote the referral, they filled the referral form, did everything for us, and handed over to us, and we were discharged. That's after close to 2 weeks in Jingri Hospital. So at that point, after we were discharged, instead of them taking me back to Abuja, I was kept at one of my aunt's house at Jingri. And then that was where Elder Agayon was now involved, and he was taking good care of me. He started giving me some treatment the alternative way, and to the glory of God, that was the miracle that brought me back to life. After a week of the treatment, he asked us that we can go back to Abuja and then continue what he has started. He told and taught my wife all that she needed to do. We went back to Abuja and we continued the treatment and all the things that he recommended. In Jingri Hospital, actually, they were thinking we were already at the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital. Unknown to them that I was just at home, and then God was doing what he knows how to do best. When I went back to Abuja, people would come around, look at me. I was an entirely different person. I was out of the real person that I was, physically and in every aspect. People will come looking for me. When they see me, they will not recognize that I am the one they were actually looking for, until maybe my wife tells them that he is the one. They will look at me in that condition that was just indescribable, and it was just something else. But within me, I was experiencing this recovery every day. It was like every day of my life, while lying on that bed helplessly, God was busy restructuring things and changing out things within me. At a point in time, because of my involvement in the church, and I translate these quarterly guides for study, that's the pamphlet. I translate it to Hausa. And another brother in Jos also, he's late now, that's Elder Ben Harrison of blessed memory. At the point that I was terribly sick, after I was discharged from the hospital, that was the time that Elder Ben Harrison died. So when the news got to Jingri that the translator of our pamphlet has died, they all thought that I was the one. They placed so many calls and stuff like that. And eventually, when they knew that I was not the one, they gave God the glory, because nobody believed that I could even be alive up to that time, looking at the situation under which, the condition under which I left the hospital. It was just a hopeless one. So for the fact that I was still alive, it was a miracle. And that was how the healing process continued gradually, until I was back on my feet to the glory of God. Many people would see me today and be asking, is it still you? Even in my office, the news got to them that I am dead while I was in the hospital here. And after some inquiries, after some investigation, they discovered that I was not dead, I was just unconscious. And with the lockdown and everything, movement was restricted and things like that. It was actually not easy, but the grace of God kept me through. My family was there, very supportive, helping me. And after running the tests all over again, to the glory of God, all the abnormal functions in my liver were restored to the glory of God. It is just a miracle. So for the fact that I am alive today, telling you my own experience means that there is nothing that God cannot do. At a point in time, we lose hope. At a point in time, we are so helpless and we feel that that is the end of the road. But that is just the point when God starts his almighty works. Man's conclusion is actually God's preamble. When God starts his own work, you will discover that all that has happened in the past was just nothing. The grace of God covers everything. If you sleep and wake up alive every day, thank God for that privilege. It is actually a privilege, because there are many that have slept and could not wake up. There are many that were sick, not even to the extent that I was, but could not make it. They lost their lives. But for me, that everybody has written off, I was just a dead person on the waiting row. But all of a sudden, God changed the entire story. That today I am the one. Looking at me, you know that I am healthy, I am strong. And I give God the glory. It is not my making. It is not the handiwork of any human being. It is just the grace of God. And I thank God for that. The story of my life will never be complete if I don't mention what I've just told you now. I see myself living a second chance. I see myself enjoying a second grace in spite of all that has happened, because I would have been a forgotten person by now. I remembered my father would visit, my late father, now he's late now, he would visit the hospital where I was, and he would not be able to get into the ward where I was. It's an amenity ward. I was just alone in the ward, but the situation, the condition I was in was more than what he could bear. He would just stay outside the door and be weeping outside, praying. It was very heartbreaking to him that he would bury his own favorite child. And it was actually devastating. But God changed the entire story. And I thank God for the privilege that he gave me to be the one to bury my own father, not that my father buried me. If God had not intervened, it would have been the other way round, because the story was just something else. If you had not seen me at that time, you would actually not understand what I am telling you now. You cannot see me at that time and still believe that I am still the person you used to know, because I was just something else. So with all the achievements in life, academically, professionally, and everything that you can think of, today, by the grace of God, I am a registered and a chartered soil scientist. I have my license to operate as a consultant, and I am an academician to the grace of God, to the glory of God. All this does not count when it comes to the issue of life and death. With all this, in fact, people no longer remembered that I was this or I was that or I was this and this. All that mattered at that time is, will I make it? Will I come out alive? Because it was a hopeless and a very terrible situation that I was in. But glory be to God that today I am what I am because the Lord has preserved me. The Lord has given me a second chance. My story can be your own story. Just trust in God. Just hold on to God's unchanging hand. Just hold him by his words, and he will certainly take you to where he wants you to be. Your story will be complete only when God says it is complete. Otherwise, whatever people conclude about you would just actually be their own opinion. But God has a plan for you. Hold on to God, hold on to those dreams, and you will not be disappointed. Thank you for the privilege. I know you have had something or you have learned something about my own experiences. And I believe by the grace of God that your own story will be greater than mine. Do have a wonderful experience. Thank you.